copyrighted. Hello, can you make your own clothing pattern? Yes, you can. And this is an example of a blouse that, I designed that I use. It is the sleeve that I designed for that, and in case I cut the waist off to add the skirt separately, I cut a full circle size here as well, and I tend to add some instructions on it as well for reference. So that when I'm designing another one again, I can just use it as a reference for the instructions to recreate it. And I do have my own how-to video, pictures, and writing step by step that I use, and I found it very useful, because after a while I forget how I did it, and I go with those instructions, especially the writing step by step guide helps me a lot to remember how I designed something to redesign it, because I'm sewing for my children. I'm going to sew for myself, but for right now I'm sewing for them, and by sewing for them I'm learning, I'm improving. They are kids, they are growing fast, so they are changing, and every few while I will measure them again before I design a pattern. So I'm going to a lot of paper to design the pattern, and the old one I'm just putting it in a scrap box for us so that we can use it as a scrap paper for writing in the house. But yes, you can design your own, and for this one, for instance, is a simple top pattern that I make modification to when I'm cutting the fabric. So that is the back, that is the front, and it will be cut on the fold. And this is just simple. It can be cut on a straight fabric, it can be cut on the bias as well. And last year I cut it on straight line, but this year I'm cutting it on the bias, and that pattern I use it, and I sew this top. It was cut on the bias, and as you can see, not much on that pattern tells you that your final product is going to look this way, because when I fold the fabric on the bias, when I open the fabric and I fold it to have the bias, because it's a structured fabric I'm working with, I put the fold, because that's a half the back or half the front. This is the back pattern, that's the back, half the back. So the straight edge of it is on the fold of the bias. But then from the waist down, I measure more flat to it. So I chose how much all the way to the end of the fabric that I have, and I want the flat to occupy the rest. So from the cone, because when you fold it like that, you have a cone here. From the cone, I measure down to where the hip will be by adding that distance extra to it, and then I measure from that cone down to where it's going to be all the way to the end of the fabric and cut the bottom. But because it extended on one side of the top, not on the middle, when I'm done sewing it, you can see that I have the flare on the side but not on the middle, and it was intentional because if I want the flare here, I will put those two. I will cut two of these to have it together, tape it, have it on the fabric, open the fabric, and on the bias lay it down and add the flare. That way the flare will be 360 degree, if I'm saying it right, but this time it's like 180 degree type things, and that will give me this look. And if I wanted, I could cut the excess here off as well, but I don't want to. And sometimes when you cut circle skirt, it is advised to let it drop and then you adjust the bottom, but I don't want to do that. And I didn't, before you hem, I didn't hem it, I just zigzag the bottom. I like the curve, the curves that it does. It adds to it. It adds something to it. I like that, but that is just an example of what can be made from a simple pattern of a top. And with the simple sleeve, since I'm making collar, pleated collar, I thought about making it for the cuff as well to see how that look like. And since I have tie from the top, I thought about making a top, the tie for the arm. And because it does not have opening to be able to put it through the head easily, I chose a keyhole neckline. So the keyhole was not on the pattern, it was cut on the fabric after the fabric was cut. So those little adjustments, I could do that on the fabric and just have one pattern that I can make multiple things from. This is an example. I cut from that same pattern. Let's take a look at this. I cut a simple top out of it, seal on the bias. You can see is draping. Let's open one. You can see what I'm saying, that is half the back. So when I open it, you can see the shape is on the bias, but it followed that the pattern. It didn't flare, no flare at the bottom, but you can see the structure of it. It is printed fabric from the store, and those are heavier texture than some apparel fabrics, and I like to work with them because you can find them easily and you can buy them on the budget as well. We have the arm that will go with it, and this was the exact pattern but cut on the bias. And we have this project to work on. You can see from one pattern we have two different outfits that can come out of it. We have this one that we have the pattern, and where the waist is, we fold it to just cut from the shoulder to the waist on the bias, and we have it. But then we measure the length, the circumference of the waist. We use that to cut a circle skirt, and we use from the waist to the hip as the length of that skirt. So we have the sleeves, we have the front, but then we have the skirt panel here, and we have 4 of them, 2 for the front, 2 for the back, that we will add together, add it to that. So again, we are trying to recreate the blue that I showed you earlier, but we cut the waist down separately from the top so that it can flare more fully. Some people might call it peplum top or blouse, but circle skirt top is what I will call it. From that one pattern, we pretty much have 3 different projects here, including one that is finished. And again, by looking at that pattern, you won't know automatically this, you won't see this design straight out of that pattern, because it is a little detail that we can differentiate when we are using the fabric itself. And from this one, I don't know if I don't know what I have here. Okay, so I think here, oh, okay. So the blue that we saw already, we cut it again, and that's how we cut it to sew the one with the ties on it. That's how we cut it, so you can see the shape. So when we get to the waist, we flare it fully from that side. And I believe this is the sleeve, and we have the top, we have the bottom. And I'm not going to open the top because I will make keyhole. I like to keep the middle folded, but let's see. You can see how it is being cut on the bias and flare like a circle at the bottom on one side, is creating this surplus that now that is dripping down. I can trying to twist and cut that excess off to see the normal flareness that I can add it to it without having drip past the middle. I think that's a good thing that I can try to play with to see. But if I let it and I sew it, it's going to give us the same design that we have here, with that excess flare at the bottom, or excess drop at the bottom. And we plan to add ties to it as well to accentuate the waist, to give it an impression of molded waist by adding tie that my daughter can tie. But you can see from one pattern we have 3 different outcome out of it. So that's how I design my own pattern. I do not buy pattern, I just draw my own, and it's just for one person, this one. And when I'm designing a new one, I just get rid of the old one, putting it in a box that we can use as a scrap paper. And I tend to add instructions to it so that I can, as I sew something, if I have a review, a feedback, and adjustment, I can put it on it. For instance, I cut the keyhole 2 inches down, and I noticed that for the bias binding outside of the collar, around the collar, it eats into the keyhole. Therefore, 3 inches keyhole might be a good one to work with. Although my daughter put it on when she was trying it without difficulty. But if I want a little bit more down, I can make it 3 inches instead of 2 inches. So those type of remarks, I will add it to the instruction. How many fabrics that I use, I will add it to the instruction, so that next time when I'm going to use the pattern again, I can read my feedback, my instruction, and improve upon it. Or if I'm going to redesign the pattern what is wrong with this one, how I want to improve it. I will add those notes to it, and the old pattern I will just get rid of it once I have a better one to replace it, because I'm sewing it for one person and it's not really the pattern different in any way, because the difference is happening when I'm cutting the fabric. So but I have this as a default to work with. Again, it could be the type of, I'm just having a plain design and from here I'm building onto it. So the way I like to do it, I like to say that the top, for instance, have different section of it: the neckline, the sleeve, the waist, the chest, and the hip. So I like to have a spreadsheet. I like to call it pattern specifics, but I like to have a spreadsheet, and then I like to say, okay, for this top, how do I want the neck? So this year I'm playing with having some colorful, I don't want the neckline to be too plain. So I will say, okay, for this one, how do I want the neck? And I chose pleated color. I try spiral ruffle as well. It looks good on them. I just try the pleated and like it better, because maybe my personal preference, I like things to be closer to my neck, and it looks good on them as well. So pleated neck color is what I drew it down to this year. After I tried spiral color as well, I narrow it down to pleated color, and that will be my design for this year on the blouses, most of them. But then I will say, okay, the waist, how I want the waist to, is it something I wanted to do to the waist? So, and this one I chose to have the tie go across the waist, sew it to it so that you can tie it. And some of them, the tie just come out of the side and then tie it. And then the hip or the bottom, the hem, do I want it in a certain way? Do I want to curve it? Do I want it straight? Do I want it low in the middle and down on the side? So I try to have different, it's like a puzzle. I'm just picking up what top I want, what sleeve I want, what color I want. Do I want that or not? Do I want, what kind of binding or facing I want? What kind of waist I want? What kind of hem I want, or what kind of hip I want, or what kind of skirts I want? Chest, is there something I wanted to do there? Sleeves, which one? So I break it down into different sections that I just pick and puzzle together to create a garment. So having one simple shell pattern, I just try to add it to it to end up with something original each time I create something. Unless I want to go duplicate something to improve on it, I will make different changes. For this one, for instance, I try to play with color by picking a lighter color to complement, to accentuate the fabric, and playing with it instead of using the same fabric for all those features added to it. So playing with color, the same thing, but designing something different, now really completely different, but just a little twist and make it different, is more what I'm doing, especially this year. Just a little change and get more creative. So I have the different options when it comes to some specific that I can write down, and some fabrics type, and let's see, fabric coordination. For this, for instance, we have what I color in blue. The font is more what I pick for this top. So we have quilting cotton or printed fabric. We have print and solid color fabric to coordinate. We pick one color, a cold color, blue. We work with monochromatic, lighter shade of blue to match the deeper muted shade of blue. And Fabrica is a bias-car, and one more specific, bias-car with 26 inches, fullness at the hip, and top type is a bias-car top. Hem, it was just a simple zigzag at the bottom. Neckline, a keyhole, although this one is 2 inches. Shoulder, cuff, we did a pleated cuff. Sleeves, we did high cap, high short sleeve. But anyway, those notes are for myself, but you see the point. So I just like to have different section of the outfit layout and different variations that I can have for each. So pleated collar, and with some specific instructions that how I got it done, and necktie, waist tie, you know, just to see the different. So that's how I pretty much try to record those type of different variation for each section of the blouse, and I focus on each section to see the variations that I like and narrow it down to few that I can focus on to get good at doing. And that's how I narrow it down to pleated color this year, to keep learning how to make those pleat and making them. So, and sewing, you can see that I'm not sewing straight, but it doesn't have to be perfect. And I know that I can, the binding around the collar, I can make it better than this. I have not found a good way of doing it yet, and keep doing it will allow me to naturally discover a better way of doing it. But that is how I make my own pattern, and how I pretty much broke a top pattern into small pieces and have different variation for each piece. Not too many variation, but even for just simple variation, make variation of that variation to just drill it down. And that's why I have those type of bias card type of things here, to just play around to see how much flare is the right amount, by just keep doing those flare in the bias card fabric. But yeah, and that is, but be able to design the pattern once is not easy, but once you did it, you'll be able to do that. So for pants, if I have a pant fabric here, a pant pattern, otherwise I can pull a pant. But before we do that, it's good to pull those things together, since I cut them separately and I cut pieces to go with them. That way I do not put different pieces with different products. It will make an interesting sandwich that I don't know I necessarily want at the moment. I just ran out of battery here. So for the pants, I have one pattern for pants, and I use it for my daughters, I use it for my son, and I will use it for myself as well. When I say one pattern, I'm just talking about a design type, but everybody has their own size. And this one is for my son. It's just one pant style. Angelique, use this side. Just one pant. And I don't know if that's why it's called straight leg pant or not, but just one. And that's pretty much how I sew for them. Pass by here, Angelique. And I sew all their pants using, like, I will measure them, and I will redraw the pattern and I will cut it for them. But at the moment it's just this style that I just keep drawing because they are kids, they are growing, so I had to keep drawing their pattern to the size they are, and before I sew for them every few like often I will need to measure them to make sure I don't end up sewing something that is, thank you, that is too small or too short, but it's just the same design type that I just keep redesigning, just the size is changing, and it's just simple that way for me at the moment that I'm trying to learn how to sew garment. I had to say that pants pattern, I tend to use my instruction quite a bit, step by step, that I wrote down to draw it, to draw it each time I'm drawing. But the more you are drawing, the better you'll get at it as well. And if you have kids and you are trying to sew, you are trying to learn to sew garment, if you are sewing for your children, it could be a good way to improve that skill, because they are kids, they are growing fast. You will keep sewing for them. As adults, we do not change size often, therefore you can sew something for yourself, you will wear it for a while. But as for the kids, they will grow past it quickly, and you will just keep sewing. And one good thing about that is you will keep practicing the new skill you are learning. But yeah, that is, I cut those two because the one that I sew him, they were too tight at the crotch area because he keep pulling it down, and I think I cut it. I think I can improve on that, so I extended the crotch on those. I sew one already for him that was good for him, although it was a little bit bigger on the side, and I think the hip was a little bit lower than his hip. But by trying to make the crotch more not too tight for him, I lowered the hip a little bit more, and I think it makes the pant a little bit bigger on the side, down past his fullness of the thigh. But it looks good on him, and I like to keep it that way, but I can still improve on that, shorten the hip length a little bit and still make the crotch wider, to see how that one will. That's pretty much how I'm design the pattern. They wear it and I pay attention to what they are saying or what they are not saying or what they are doing, to see if there is something I can improve on the pattern, and then I will design it again, and then I sew again. So if I'm going to sew on the fabric, I try to sew on the fabric that is not too expensive first, and then see how they feel about that design, and then I can use the fabric that I want to sew it in and sew it in. So that's one way I try to do that. I don't use a test garment necessarily by using a fabric that they are not going to wear. I'm using quilting cotton or printed fabric. They can use it at home if it turns out not to be the perfect one, or they can put it on their doll. But you know, if it turns out to be good, they can wear it to school or out. But I just try to find the fabric that is not too expensive in my inventory to sew with, and keep improving it until I get it to the pattern. Because each time I had to fix something, I will redraw the pattern again, and then I will sew. They will wear it, and then I will say, okay, let me fix this, and then I will redraw the pattern again until I narrow it down to something, and then I say, okay, your pattern is set for some month now, and then I will sew to make sure, and then I will sew what I wanted to sew in. So for my daughter that I show you the clothing, I sew a test garment. It was just great, and then I said, okay, but I want to multiple iterations, spiral, neckline, this year to get to the pleated one that I like, to everything pieces that I put together that I like, and I said, okay, this pattern that I cut is good, because I was going with sleeveless pattern before. I designed the pattern and I used it to sew sleeveless top for her, and when I added sleeve, it became too tight. Therefore, I designed the pattern and I lowered the sleeve a little bit, and then I put the sleeve on it. It was great. But then I wanted to sew a top without sleeve, and I feel like this pattern may not be a good one for it, because it will be too big of now having sleeves here. So that means for sleeveless top, I need to design a different pattern that the armhole will be higher, so that it does not show too much if she's not wearing a top on top of it. But yeah, those are things I had to think about. But until then, I have that one that is good with sleeve. So I will say that pattern is a sleeve top pattern, and I will need to design another one for sleeveless pattern. But just because of the armhole change that I will make. But that pattern, I narrow it down for her, and once I'm done sewing for her, I will start doing it for my second daughter as well. So I'll pick one of them and I will sew multiple times to get the pattern right for that person. Then I know that I can sew for some month using that pattern. I can sew multiple variety using that pattern. Or if I need to take measurement and redesign it again, that pattern is what I'm going to pretty much copy. Just if the bust is bigger, or the waist is bigger, or things like that, that is just going to be those changes. But how I construct that, I designed that pattern is going to remain the same. And then I'll move to the next chart, and then I'll start with the changes on the pattern and sew, and they'll try, and if there's something wrong with it, I will redesign another pattern, so they will wear it again. And then so I try to sew on something they can keep wearing. It's not perfect, but it's wearable. So I don't use muslin that they cannot wear. I will use quilting cotton or something of that nature, printed fabric, easily accessible at the store. And then I will just I purchase fabrics like linen and so forth to sew for them, but I have not cut into those because we are practicing those pattern with printed fabric that we have more of, to make sure we got them right before we start cutting into more expensive fabrics. So I got one daughter pattern down for the top. I'll move to my son to get, and I think I got his pants pattern down. That's why I cut two to batch. I batch cut two to sew. And now I'll move to for the top that I show you. I cut multiple project to sew as well, because I know that pattern I got it down right, so I can batch cut things and sew on that. So now I have two kids pattern, my son's bottom, my daughter, my oldest daughter top that I got right. Now I will move to my middle daughter to sew her pants, to get her pants right, then to sew top. So pretty much that's how I'm creating my own pattern. Just keep drawing, sewing, drawing, sewing, drawing, sewing until I got the sizing right for them. And I don't know, it's because I'm new to garment sewing that I'm going to multiple iterations each time to get their pattern right. I'm hoping over time I'll be able to make those adjustments easily and get the first pattern drawn right the first time for them. But it's just sharing with you how I'm trying to make my own pattern and sewing the garment for my children. And I'm not even talking about moving to myself, sewing for myself, and that is on my to-do list as well. In the meantime, my kids are keeping me busy, and sewing for them help me improve my skill, and it's very fulfilling knowing that I can just measure them and sew for them and see how it looks on them. And since we have the fabric, we just shop from our own store, because our business purchase the fabric and we buy from our business. So they choose the color and then I sew for them, and I guide them a little bit through the process and listen to what they are saying as well. And at least they can give feedback. How things are fitting on them matters to me. I take that into consideration to make improvement to the pattern and to the garment that I'm sewing. For instance, my middle child will say that she doesn't want her top to be too long. She wants it short, and I say, yeah, but you still need to cover your bum. So we are trying to find some middle ground here to work with, but I have that feel like she want more cropped top, and I don't want that to be too cropped. I want that to be more covered up to the hip to cover the bust area for her. So, but yes, I saw some that were more little bit close to the knee. Doesn't have to be that long. So listen to what they are saying, allow me to take that into consideration and keep improving, because last year I saw them tunic, it was that long close to the knee, and this year I'm trying to hone it in, have a little bit just past the bum area, so that, you know, is if they are wearing a low rise pant, it does not show their skin at the back. Thank you so much for watching. If you are trying to sew garment, or you are wondering if you can do it, yes, you can. It takes time, but little by little you will be able to. But having kids can just force you to just keep improving that skill, because they will keep growing, outgrowing while you are sewing. But it's very fulfilling. It takes time, but again, it's your household, it's your family, it's yourself. You can spend your time on yourself, on your family, as much as you want. You are spending it on an employer, why not spending it on yourself as well? So thank you so much. It's not because you're not getting paid that it's not worth it. It is worth it. So, and it is a marketable skill that, who knows, and I think it can help you improve other skills. At least it helped me use the creative side of my brain, because I'm very analytical and analyzing things all the time. Sewing in some way allows me to use the creative side of my brain, and yeah, just to exercise all part of our brain that we can think of. So thank you so much for watching our videos. We thank you very much for your time. We thank you very much, you all that subscribe to our channel. I'm actually Liberman, Cross of Liberman Consulting L.L.C YouTube channel, and in aso.com our blog. On our channel and on our blog, we share different ways you can save money and different ways you can make money to reach your financial independence, where you do not depend on an employer to provide for your family. And sewing your own clothes is one way to save money. You can find fabric on sale, and while you will sew, I'm sure if you are shopping for a tailored clothing, it will be way more expensive than if you buy the fabric and sew it yourself from scratch. And if you buy a clothing from the store, yeah, they are great, but it's not going to be necessarily your perfect size, because we are all different. Is the average body shape that they use to sew those, to mass produce those. So having something customized to your shape, sometimes depending on how you struggle finding your clothing at the store, it might just be something you might choose to. For instance, for the longest time that I can remember, I noticed that when I go to buy pants, if I wanted the right size for me, is too short at the ankle, and if I want it, and I'm talking about dress pants, general pants, even jean, and if I want it to be long enough for me, is bigger at the waist, and I will find more low-rise pants than I will find high-rise pants, and I don't like low-rise pants. And if you look at my body shape, I think for a long time I think rectangle shape. It's not the thinks of this video though. But I can ask your opinion. I think I'm a rectangle shape, but now I'm thinking I'm more like a pear shape, in the sense, but I don't know for sure, in the sense that my bust, I have a small bust, my bust and my hip, I have a high rise. My bust and my waist are the same measurement or close, 2 inches different. So like for instance, if my bust is 34, my waist is 32 inches. So my waist is higher above, is before my belly button, so it's higher than my tummy. And you can see it's somewhere here. So, and my, after having kid, I have tummy, and then I have a hip. Like my hip became more pronounced. So my hip is the largest part of my body, but then I have a broad shoulder, in the sense that if I compare it, if I'm just looking, half my bust will be shorter than my shoulder to shoulder length. I didn't measure it, but I think just by looking. So therefore I have a broader shoulder in comparison to my bust, and my waist, or maybe it gives me a rectangle kind of shape before I got to my hip. So because of my hip, I'm thinking I'm a pear shape, but I don't know if I'm really a pear shape when I have a broader shoulder compared to my bust and my waist. So and so I'm kind of somewhere a broader shape, a shoulder, or rectangle, or pear kind of combination type. So you can see how 3 body size, I'm finding a little bit of pieces of those on my body. So it's not like one body fits my style, but I have 3 different shapes there kind of combined. So I don't even know why I got to teeth, but I don't know, forgot. But anyway, so yeah, let's get back to the topic. So having a high waist and wearing low rise pants is just too low for me. And then when I have my camisole on top of it, then I have my, you know, I wear 3 pieces. You can see, like when I have the bottom, I have the cami, I will have a cardigan type of thing. That's how I dress for work. Especially, I will have a dress pant. Usually I will have a legging underneath the dress pant, and then I will have the bottom piece, and then I'll have the top piece. But having low rise pants, I like long cami. And now all the time that I'll find long cami, the one that I'm wearing now is long. Some that I have at shoulder, this is long to my hip, but can pull up sometimes, and I like that. So, and that's what I'm doing for the kids, trying to have pieces that are long enough for or so pants high rise for them, or so top long enough that can cover their low rise pants for them. But you know, I have those struggles, and I know that dresses look good on me. I don't have too much issue with that. Skirts look good on me. If they have waistband, that will go great. It's the pants that it's kind of hard for me to find the right size. The crotch area might be too down, because about a big size that will go all the way to my ankle and things like that. I have more issue with that, but the skirt is good, the dress is good, and the top, yeah, kind of. So, but I didn't really find the need to sew my own clothes. I learned to sew clothes growing up at school, middle school, high school, and then at the tailor shop. During my first year in college, summertime, I'll go to one of my family members' shop to learn to sew. So, and I sew skirt there. But then I stopped, even though I have a sewing machine at home. My brother and I, we sew. For years, I stopped sewing until I start having kids, and I want to save money, and I start sewing napkin, and so that we do not use paper towels. And I sew cloth diapers for them as well. And it is now, and then I didn't even think about sewing clothes for them because it was just cheaper. Not that, just that, I think like baby shower that family members throw for us, we got a lot of clothing out of that they wore. And when I buy them clothes from the store, I didn't really think about sewing them garment. I could have started back then and I would got, but anyway, I'm not going to talk about what would have happened if something were different. But they got to teenage years and I start noticing that I'm having a problem finding appropriate pants for my oldest daughter. Low rise, short, crop top, and things just didn't fit well. Until she tried one of my pants and it fit her well, and I said, okay, so that case I can just give her my pants that are a little bit too tight for me, and I give her a lot of my dress pants and tops, and my second daughter got a little bit of my dresses and top as well, but my pants were bigger for her, but my oldest daughter got the pants. So I pretty much downsized my wardrobe years ago to 2 big containers, from maybe 6 or 4 to 2 containers, and with them I pretty much divide those 2 again between them, and my wardrobe is kind of light now, and I'm going to sew for myself, but I'm not a priority. They are my priority. Trying to sew for them to have a school wardrobe to wear to school and to go to church with is my priority at the moment. But that's what got me into sewing. Not finding the right wardrobe style that I want them to start learning how to dress professionally, how to be presentable, and not just wearing t-shirts all the time or things like that. That's what got me. And things be more decent and not showing skins that they don't intentionally want to show is what got me into sewing for them. And I said, you know what, I need to start sewing garments, and I got into it, and I'm still learning. So what is the reason you want to sew garment? Thank you so much for your time. And by sewing for them, it does save me money, because if I purchase, I don't know how much I purchase this. Let's say I purchase this fabric for $3, and I will say I'm using, let's just round it to 3 yards. I know it's less than 3 yards, but let's say 3 yards. That's $9. So I'm not even going to account for my time. I'm spending it for somebody. I work for my employer outside of working hours, and I don't get paid overtime because I'm salaried. And my boss may not even know that I work long hours past work time. I'm spending my time on my employer. Why not spending my time on my children? Therefore, I'm not counting my time, and I'm learning a valuable skill that I can market if I want to. So that's $9. Am I going to find a dress pant for him for $9? Maybe if it's on sale. But again, this one is tailored to his size, and I'm happy to sew it. Of course, I'm not talking about the sewing machine and the thread, but you got the point. So thank you so much for watching, and I will be sharing a little bit of sewing skills that I'm learning online. But just know that I'm not a pro at it. I'm learning, and things that I'm learning, I'll be able to share that with you. And feel free to give me your feedback, and if you sew and you see something that I can improve, yeah, please feel free to leave it on the comment. I appreciate that, and I thank you in advance. But yeah, and it's okay if you don't sew straight. It's okay. Wear it with pride. You'll just get better. Thank you.